you know that you need to not get flattened out. So the fact that you posted that there, I imagine means that you're probably getting flattened out in side control. And that's super important. If you get flattened out in side control, your ability to escape effectively goes down tremendously. So one of the things, I want you to just try this out. So first off, let's say the Chad's passing my guard here, okay? So just to give you a visual, okay? That's a technical guard pass right there. You see that? That was pure technique, black belt technique. I showed them that one myself. So if he gets here to the side, okay, my first thing is I need to be on my side facing him, okay? If I'm gonna try to defend this way, you can roll and turtle or something like that, but if we're gonna try to defend it this way, we need to be on our side and we need to be able to defend one way or the other. If the person flattens me out, it's not to say that it's hopeless. It just, you're gonna have to take a different route, okay? So
you never want to give the guy a hug. If I hug him, I'm squeezing him, pulling him down the top of me. I want to get my hands up under the hips here. I'll get them under here, try to make some space for my arm to come up under push. Okay, but one thing to keep in mind, if you guys get stuck here, okay, like really stuck, guys squeezing super hard, all right, I'm going to take my hand that's closest to his head here. I'm going to bring it in, and I want to push, and I'm going to be pushing down. This hand, I want to push on the hip here a little bit, okay? Notice when I take my hand, I don't push like this, okay? My palm does not push against the hip. If it does that, get your wrist broken, okay? So we're gonna push kind of on the side of our wrist here, okay? And I want to push his body down, not away, but straight down towards my hips. Once his elbow is right here by my neck, this is the time to go. My hand that was on the hip here pushing down, it's gonna come over top, and I'm going to bridge. Now look, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to get this little turn here. So I'm getting his elbow pointing down, arms tucked, it's tight, okay? Sometimes you'll be able to just, like right here where his hand's caught, you'll be able to just roll up and it's easy, okay? But go ahead and get into a habit of turning up to your elbow, because if you post on his hand, I'm gonna need more hip movement to come up with that, okay? From here, we're gonna have the arm tucked, tight, we can step over, start to attack an arm bar, or get into our own side mount position.
there's so many variables, right? There's so much stuff going on, but there's a lot of power in jiu-jitsu if you just get rid of everything else and just focus on one thing at a time, right? Concentration on just one thing, right? It's a powerful concept. So right here, if Chad starts to pass my guard, boom, I'll get my guys to do this. My buddy Jason Keaton, he called this the iron squirrel, right? And he was like, basically, you gotta be made of iron and you kind of look like a little squirrel there hanging on. So what we're gonna be doing is I'm gonna be making my frame, obviously on the shoulder here, and I'm gonna be cupping the right here at the tricep, and I'm gonna slide right down to where the bend of the arm is. If I go up too high, he can easily move his arm around. But if I come right down to the elbow, like sort of like a latch, I can use my forearm to brace. And then all I'm gonna do is just stay on my side. Go on, stay on my side. Go ahead and push it in. By closing the crossface up and just framing, keeping my arms in tight, it's very hard for the person to flatten me. Now they might step around or something like that, but this can show you how powerful it can be if you just focus on your frames first and then worry about everything else. Okay? Getting the frame set up, and then have your buddy try to get on your side, go ahead, and then try to just stay up and hip escape and move, and whatever you do, just don't let them get the crossface right here, and don't let them get the underhook, like right here. If they don't get those two things, their side control is not going to be very strong. And so I say this because here's what always happens with some of my white belts. When I do like a side control class, I always start with that drill because I need them to get used to being on their sides. And a lot of times it seems like such an impossible task. But then once I get them to stay on their side without any other interruptions, they're like, wow, I can actually do this. This is not bad. I can get on my side.
What's keeping me here is friction. His weight on top of me, on top of the ground. So what I need to do is create space. First movement, bridge up, and then as I fall, I move my hip out. Insert my shin all the way. Push my shoulders back so I'm square and pull his arm out of position. Drop my foot, one more hip movement, and then I'm back in a closed guard. So what we want to do here is have another direction that we can go. You'll see what I mean. Rick has me in side mount position. Boom. Maybe I'm not able to insert my knee all the way here. I just start, I crack the door open, I move his elbow out of position here, so my inside hand is gonna switch underneath. Put my palm on his hip, swing my legs down, and then spin away in the opposite direction. Maybe I'm not able to get my knee all the way in, but I've successfully cracked the door open, just like that. I need a little bit of space. I insert my hand, put it on his hip. Now, it's not enough to push with my arm and stay flat. I need to throw my legs down in one direction and then ride that momentum as I'm on my side and then put him back into open current.
Most people, when they think about pins, always attribute it to body weight and gravity. It's a guy has a certain body weight, that's what's holding me down, is body weight. Let's understand something. It's much more complex than just that. If we have Bernardo in this position here, I'm going to do a simple test. I'm going to put 100% of my body weight on top of Bernardo, but close to 100% of my body weight on top of Bernardo, but I'm going to have my hands behind my back. And you're going to see that it's the easiest thing in the world for Bernardo to put me back in guard. It takes almost no effort. So I'm just going to go chest to chest on Bernardo and throw him here with my hands behind the back. You see, it's so easy, it's almost a joke for him to put me back in guard, not even a challenge. And that's strange because I really did have a high percentage of my body weight on top of him. I was up on my toes. The only thing on the floor for my body was my toes. Everything else was on him. So a very high percentage of my body weight was directly borne on him. But you could see with your own eyes, it was ridiculously easy for him to put me back in guard. The basis of a pin is not body weight. The basis of a pin is the use of your body as a set of wedges around your opponent's body. Let's do that same experiment the other way around. You can't really see this because my gi is in the way, but I'm going to put 0 body weight on top of Bernardo. You have to take my word for this. I'm currently putting no body weight on top of Bernardo. There is no contact between my chest and his. But I'm going to put a wedge underneath his back on one side of his body, and a wedge in front of his hip on the other, and a second wedge in here at the head. Now, if Bernardo says the ABC, good. If Bernardo starts talking, yep, you can see there's no stress on him. I'm not putting weight on him. Now when he says ABC, you can see, yeah, now you can feel there's body weight, okay? I currently have 0 body weight on him. But when he goes to put me back in guard, it's impossible, okay? Step number 1 in any pin escape, reduce your vulnerability. Okay, I can't be trying to get out of a pin situation when my arms are in a situation where he can easily start going into arm locks, all kinds of manner of strangleholds, etc., etc. So our first thing is reduce the vulnerability. The main vulnerabilities I have are submissions, usually upper body ones in this position. There's a vulnerability here on the arm. There's vulnerabilities in my neck. And the second kind of vulnerability is when him getting mounted on me. Okay, I can't just give up easy points where he gets mounted and scores additional points to the points he's already scored on me. Okay, so we're going to reduce the vulnerability of the mount by putting our knee in the pocket of his hip, just right here. So when he tries to get mounted, it's going to be a little more difficult. Okay. Secondly, we've got to start the process of getting inside his wedges. The number 1 place to start is always near side hip. This is always the best place to start in the vast majority of side escapes, okay? So we're going to take our elbow, and you can currently see I currently have no inside position. Bernardo is completely inside me. His right knee is inside my right knee. His left knee is inside my elbow. His shoulder is inside my shoulder. From here, his left arm is inside and underneath my arm. So Bernardo Faria owns all the inside real estate. I'm completely shut out. You can't tolerate that. We need to start getting some kind of inside control on our opponent, and then over time get more and more inside control until I can get completely inside his wedges and put him back in guard. So step number 1, we're going to take our near side elbow and put it in. I got good news for you. That's usually pretty easy. If my opponent has shut my elbow out and I cannot get my elbow in, then it's okay to turn away from our opponent just briefly to get the elbow inside. If he brings his knee in super tight to my body and I physically cannot get my elbow in, I turn what seems to be the wrong way to get my elbow inside. Once the elbow goes inside, now it's about joining my knee and elbow together. How am I going to do that? He's got his knee inside mine. I cannot enter with my knee. If we bring the camera this way, I cannot bring my knee along the floor. His knee is wedging inside my knee. I'm not getting inside. So instead I place my knee at the hip. The hip is my entry point. I cannot go through at the floor. His knee beats my knee. But my knee will always beat him at the hip. For every inch that I move outwards, he can't follow because I have the inside position with my elbow. For every inch that I move outwards, I can bring my knee in an inch. Now, if Bernardo moves away from me, just away from me, buddy, you will see that I have formed a V-shaped frame between my elbow and my knee. That's why we call this one the elbow escape. This V-shaped frame forms a strong defensive position against my opponent. If he tries to mount from here, it's impossible. If he tries to pressure into me, the frame holds his weight very, very easily. And so we can hold him off. Now, from here, as he tries to come in and control me in this position, look, I'm going to join my 2 feet together here. And I'm going to push with the strength of both legs against my opponent's body. He will probably try to retain control of my head. That's how most people try to control pin positions, ultimately through the head. So we always want to get our hand inside. So again, we're dominating inside position. We're getting inside the wedge of his bicep here. As he goes to hold me in this position, look, I position my knee inside his hip, and I shift my hips out. As a result, we are now aligned with our opponent. We're in the perfect position now to start going inside and underneath our opponent's arms, and from here we can hit a forward shift and get our back off the floor. Once your back is off the floor, when he goes to apply body weight to me now, we're in a position where we can manage his body weight. And from here we can start getting into counter offense, etc., etc. Okay? Ultimately, the story of every side control escape using the elbow escape method is the story of going from perpendicular, where you are heavily pinned by your opponent's body weight, to parallel, so that your spines line up. And then you can start to manage your opponent's body weight in meaningful, effective ways. Let's have a look at all that sequence again. Okay, we've got a strong, tough opponent on top, and he owns all the inside real estate. We're completely shut out. Okay, from here, first we've got to form a sound defensive position that involves everything coming in close. I defend the mounted position by keeping his hips between my knee and my elbow. Then from here, look how I pull the elbow to the inside position. My elbow goes inside the wedge of my training partner's hip. If I find he's shut me out and I cannot do that, it's permissible to turn what seems to be the wrong way to get inside. Now from here, as we bring the camera on this side, from here, for every inch that I shrimp outwards with my left foot, my right knee goes in an inch. I do not enter at the knee where I get shut out. I enter at the hip, that's my insertion point, to bring everything in and form a diagonal frame, just sitting up there, notice, a diagonal frame of elbow and knee. And that is my buffer between his body weight and my body weight. When he goes to apply body weight to me now, that's the buffer that holds him off. Now from here, I bring my 2 feet together and we push so that our bodies start the process of alignment. Off that process, we steal inside position at the bicep. So when he goes to control my head, difficult. If I didn't have that and he controlled my head, he could walk past my legs a second time and from here re-pin me. We don't want to have to repeat the same work twice. So once we come in here and push away on our training partner, we take away the control that he wants over our head. Now from here, we go in and align our body with his. Now there's a danger if I sit up too early, he gets a hold of a body lock and returns me immediately to the mat, okay? We don't want that happening. So before we come up, let's make sure we get inside and underneath. As a result, we can quickly get to a seated position. When he goes to put my body back down to the mat, he'll be doing so in a way where I can at least threaten some kind of strong offensive action from the bottom position. This general process of starting working through the elbow escape, going from an initial very, very heavy, controlled, perpendicular position to an aligned position where we're in a seated situation, he can no longer apply body weight, is the heart and soul of the elbow escape from side. Let's understand what we're working against. A set of wedges reinforced by my opponent's body weight. But it's really the wedges that you've got to work against. Always think in terms of inside positioning. Are your limbs inside his limbs or are his limbs inside yours? Because that will determine how you get to work your way out. Have faith in the idea that you're not going to get from a situation where you're shut out of inside position into one where you're in inside position. It's going to happen incrementally. You're going to get one limb in, usually it's the elbow first, then the knee, then a hand inside the bicep, and we can work incrementally until we have more limbs inside him than he has inside you. And that's when you can start moving people effectively from underneath and scoring.
So John, if it was no gi, it would be pretty much the same
Very
system,
similar.
right?
Yeah, very similar.
No,
This is there are certain aspects of the sport where there's not much difference. Now, if you were gripping me differently. Say, for example, you started using my lapel, then we're going into different escapes. But from the bottom person's perspective, always remember, as the bottom player, your number one priority is to create space. Now, gripping the gi from bottom position, you got to know exactly what you're doing, because there can be a tendency, if you grip a hold of things, to actually stop yourself from creating space. So, for example, you'll often see in a beginner's class, you'll see people grabbing the gi here and holding on. You're holding yourself in position here. This is not the time to be grabbing people. This is the time to be pushing people away. So typically at fundamentals level, unless you have a very specific advanced move in mind, at fundamentals level, I like to see bottom athletes working with open hands without grips and doing their pushing with elbows and forearms rather than with hands. Okay? So from here, it's all about that movement inside. It creates alignment, situation where we can start taking people out of balance. So for this particular move at fundamentals level, there's not a lot of gripping involved. It's mostly open-handed, working with elbows and forearms.